Hello and welcome to Boomer Live. Today we are here to talk about India versus South Africa. First T20 which just got over. Oh my god, if you're an Indian fan, you should look away because it's not a good sign to be an Indian fan because South Africa chased on 212 quite comfortably with 5 balls sparing. And it's the first time ever in T20 cricket history, T20 history for India, where India has failed to defend a score in excess of 200. And it's the sixth match this year India has lost to South Africa. They lost two test matches earlier this year, then they lost three ODIs, and now they lost the T20 match as well. So definitely India finding South Africa to be their nemesis. Sandipani is joining with me today. Sandipani, welcome on the show. What did you make of the match? Because it was such a topsy-turvy match, isn't it?
Yeah, at one point when India got 211, 212 runs on the board, you definitely thought that this was going to be India's game. But then again, some one dimensional bowling, some poor fielding, and definitely it was hard to watch as an Indian fan. But definitely kudos to somebody like a Vanderderson and David Miller. We had spoken about this in our pre-match. In our session that David Miller is coming off this purple patch and he'll definitely
Yeah.
continue his form over here, and it's sort of a revive. This IPL has sort of revived David Miller's career because it was on the downslide, and suddenly he's one of the most dangerous finishers again. And again, the drop catch from Shreyas Iyer when Dasan was only on 29 really cost them because he ended up scoring 75 not out, and they scored 22 runs each of the 17th and 18th over. And I think that the bowling was not up to the mark. Definitely 212 should have been defended. uh, Ishan Kishan at the end of the first inning said that 150 was a par score. But I would definitely feel on this track 180, 190, 180 to 185 was the par score because
Yeah.
boundaries were small. And once the batsman got
I
set,
mean,
they were
I
finding it really
wouldn't
easy.
blame Indian batters even a tad bit. Even 212 was a very good score on this track
Yeah.
because even the ball was gripping quite a bit. If you look at the second innings, even in the first innings, you saw Shamsi who was able to extract quite a bit of turn on the wicket as well. But one thing which we were talking throughout the IPL and today yet again is the tactical calls of Rishabh Pant, the captain, isn't it? We have to highlight it today. Maybe we could give him the leeway of him captaining India for the first time, but then his tactical calls were all over the place today, especially not bringing back Chahal when he had a very good matchup against David Miller. Bringing him in the power play when he does not have a very good record in the power play at all. Then finishing off Avesh Khan, who's known to be one of the best death bowlers in IPL in T20 cricket for India right now, finishing him off in 16th over and making it a someone like Bhuvaneshwar Kumar to finish it off. So there have been a lot of tactical calls which went haywire, and hence the result, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's his first game as Indian captain in the T20 format, and yeah, some very questionable calls we had. Like he had received a lot of flack due to his captaincy from us. We were very critical about his captaincy in the IPL, and again the usage of his bowlers. So you absolutely pointed it out perfectly well because bringing in Yuzvendra Chahal for the fourth over, giving Bhuvneshwar Kumar just the 2 overs when he was on song at the top, and finishing somebody like Avesh Khan. I think Avesh Khan bowled brilliantly. The only few overs where the South African batsmen were finding it difficult to get going was that 14th and 16th over which Avesh Khan
Right.
bowled. I think he was
Yeah.
very unlucky to not to get that wicket. He deserved it. And even after that no ball, he considered just I think 9 runs in that 16th. 14th over, 15th over, and
Yeah.
14th over, and in the 16th over he just considered 8 runs. So all in all, brilliant bowling from Avesh Khan. I think
Yeah.
after the first over, he really came back well. But not so much support from all the other bowlers. Harshal Patel bowled a very good first over. But after that, I think there was nothing from him in the remaining quota of in his remaining quota of the other 3 overs. So yeah, I think it was just you can't expect somebody like a Harshal Patel to deliver for you all the time. Like yeah, he is your death bowler specialist, but there will be days where he'll go for runs, and you definitely need another bowler to support him. And I think it was not just they were not going for the Yorkers. They understood that the slower balls were working for the South African. South Africans, so they went for the slower balls rather than the Yorkers. But we always know that when you can nail those Yorkers, it is always beneficial for your team. Like Avesh Khan, he bowled so many Yorkers in that 14th and 16th over, and it was very hard to get him to get him to
I mean,
get the batter
you
doesn't
can't
get going.
blame, for example, someone like an Avesh Khan. Avesh Khan is playing his second international game, and Harshal Patel, I thought, his decision to go around the wicket was definitely never good. I remember he doing the same thing against Lucknow Super Giants in the eliminator, where he went for plenty of runs. He went for 10 runs by bowling two of those wide balls, and which went one went for a boundary as well. Then he changed over the wicket where he bowled briefly. So I thought that was really not good from Harshal Patel, because his strength has always been bowling over the wicket, putting it on the wicket, and bowling the full length deliveries as well. Because he was trying to bowl the slower deliveries very short, because that was not sticking onto the wicket at all, and hence he was going for a lot of runs. If you look at that area, that region of from the square, from mid wicket to the long on as well. And Rasif van der Dussen, he's been a player who's been in red hot form. We've always spoken about him very highly. His ability to play spin, and also he has enjoyed playing against India even in the one day series when India played South Africa back in South Africa. He scored a brilliant 100, and he was taking on the spinners as well. But today, giving him that life, we always speak about catches winning matches, and today just proved yet again how that one catch proved India very costly, right?
Yeah, definitely. Catches win matches, and the one that Shreyas Iyer dropped, it was a sitter because the ball was hit straight to him at deep mid wicket. I think you would expect him to take 9 of 10 catches, and it was just that it was not the day where he could take that. But that really cost him because he went on to score another 46 runs in very quick time in I think 15-16 balls. Because right
Yeah.
after that he just took on Bhuvneshwar Kumar. He took on Harshal Patel in that over 22 runs. I think it was no looking back from there. And also, I think the Indian team, they were not lucky tonight because a few of the edges flew past third man uh, and over third man, and the ball was and that decision, the LBW decision. To be fair,
I mean,
that
I thought that
any umpire
was
would have given that not
total
out. To be fair,
nonsense. I was really disappointed with that decision as well, because uh, you could say he came down the track quite a bit. 3 meter was the reason why
yeah.
the umpire's call came into play. But other than that, I really think that would have been out. It couldn't have got any plum in front. I don't know
See,
why
that
then
is
you have an LBW decision if these things go to umpire's call as well. Because
yeah.
then you're just ruling out these kind of blatant calls. The reason why you have DRS is to rule out these kind of very close calls and important situations. Imagine this would have been a knockout game in the World Cup, and if decision would have gone against India, you could have imagined the uproar. You could have imagined the kind of howl about it, because Indians don't take this kind of things lightly at all. And even today's game, I'm not just talking about Indians, but any game, let it be in any sport, these kind of decisions is why you have technology in place, and still you're giving it in favor of umpire. I'm really not in favor of umpire's call for a very long period of time, and now it just proves even more that umpire's call has been, is creating a lot of mess. We saw that even in the IPL. Still, I feel Indian umpiring needs to be lifted up quite 2 or 3 folds, because at this very moment, Indian umpiring standards are very poor. Yeah, in crunch situations, you would really need to know how to make those decisions, but because you never know. Because Tristan Stubbs was walking into bat, a wicket over there. Then they had all bowlers to follow. Someone like a Wayne Parnell who's playing after a very long period of time. Tristan Stubbs was making a debut. Anything could have possibly happened. That's why these kind of important calls are meant to be made. This kind of important calls needs to be given a lot more value as well. We have a question now. We have a question from Mr. Shaurya. Shaurya is asking why no Arshdeep and Umran Malik. Well, I'll
Yeah,
make my point and I'll give it to you, Sandeep. And I reckon Ashdeep Singh could have been possibly given a preference over Avesh Khan, but then Imran Malik, I still think is very raw. You can put him in T20 cricket. You saw him in IPL picking up wickets here and there, but I still don't think he's a finished product for international cricket. He still got leaps to improve. If you would have gone for runs, you would have asked why not Avesh Khan in today's game, because Avesh Khan, I feel, is a more complete and a well now rounded T20 bowler. And Harshal Patel and Bhuvneshwar Kumar would have walked into this team any day. And Harshal Patel did try to make a comeback. Bhuvneshwar Kumar had one of those off days. I thought it was again up to Rishabh Pant. The way he managed the ballers was really poor. I thought he should have been more proactive as a captain, especially he should have calculated it. He thought 212 was a tough task for South Africa. He did not calculate that they had someone like a David Miller, they had someone like a Warasi Vanderdusen who could turn the game around. And I love the way how they used Dwayne Pretorius as well, because that cameo really set it up for them. Though Temba must got going from the first over, but that knock of 23-25 odd from Dwayne Pretorius really took the momentum to South Africa from there on. It was easy for David Miller with the kind of form he has been in IPL to just come in and take the balls on. But Arshdeep Singh would be one bowler I would still prefer over Avish Khan because of the variety he brings. I don't want, because with all three right hand bowlers, one left arm bowler would be really good because he brings in that angle, and he's been very good with needing the Yorkers, but not definitely not Umran Malik, because Umran Malik has got definitely a long way to improve. He's got pace, and pace is nothing in T20 cricket. And if he balls in 160 balls, he's gonna go maybe 3 tires or 4 tires up the stance as well. You have seen that in IPL as well. His fastest ball really got smoked for a four. So Umran Malik is definitely not my preferred option for sure. What about you, Sandipani?
No, I think Arshdeep and Umran will definitely get 1 or 2 games later on in this series, because I am not sure about Umran Malik, but I am definitely sure that Arshdeep Singh will get a look in. Definitely in this series. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been picked in the squad, because they'll experiment a lot in this series. Talking about the South African team, going in with five bowlers and a sixth bowling all rounder, I think it was a very risky sort of a call. And definitely, when you're going with six bowlers or five bowlers and a six bowling all rounder option, you definitely had to bring in somebody like a Wayne Parnell or a Dwayne Pretorius up the order as a floater. I think if instead of Bavuma, if Quinton de Kock would have gotten dismissed early, I think we would have seen Wayne Parnell coming up the order as a
Yeah,
floater. And I think it was a very good call to bring in Dwayne Pretorius. We know that cameo really worked well for them. 29 of 12 balls at that juncture was very crucial for them. And talking about Avish Khan being picked, I think he has definitely been up that pecking order when it comes to definitely in front of Arshdeep Singh and Umran Malik. Even though I was really impressed with Arshdeep Singh's bowling, and Avish Khan had a bit of fitness issues in this IPL, but he definitely came back really well towards the later end of the season. And also, we know that when he nails those Yorkers, he looks brilliant, Avish Khan. So I think all in all, I think this was not a bowling track. Clearly, we had over 420 runs in the game. So definitely not a bowling track. And talking about Indian umpiring, I think that I totally agree with you. The standard of Indian umpiring has to improve.
yeah,
But on that DRS call, I think, to be fair, any umpire all around the world would have given that not out, because 3 meters is a huge distance. We had seen in the past, in 2011-12, they used to consider around 2 meter, 2.5 meter as that point, that beyond a certain point, a batsman would have been given not out. And if you go back over the days, I think 1970s, 80s, 90s, this wouldn't have been a call anyway, because if you would have been way beyond the crease, the umpire generally tends to give you not out. But barring
yeah.
that one call, I think all in all, the umpiring standard has to improve.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of the debatable areas, especially when it comes to Indian cricket at this very point. Because if you look at the elite panel of umpires as well, we had one umpire from India, that was Sundaram Ravi, and now if you look, there are no more umpires in the elite panel. I thought Nitin Menon was going to be one of those umpires, but he also over the last one season has been a letdown, because Nitin Menon was one umpire I thought who had a very good decision making skills, because he never used to refer to DRs more often than not. Whatever decision he used to make, he used to stay upheld as well. And especially that series against England was where he came into prominence as well. A very interesting question as to whether Indian bowling is being very one dimensional. I remember making this statement with Abhishek and Nirmit, you know, in one of those series against South Africa itself back in January, where I told this bowling attack is very one dimensional. It could be found out as well. At this point, I still stick on to my statement. I reckon with Harshal Patel and Bhuvaneshwar Kumar both being there, I reckon they're very good T20 bowlers. But other than that, we need a left arm pacer. One left arm pacer in T20 cricket is a must. If you look at all the top teams across the world, it'll be Australia, it'll be New Zealand, it'll be Pakistan in T20 cricket as well. They all have that one left arm pacer which creates that angle, which creates that extra bit of dimension. And with Yuzvendra Chahal, I'm totally in for him. I thought it was one of those bad days where he was not used pretty well as well. But other than that, just one left arm pacer is what we are lacking. I don't know if he's going to come in for Bhuvneshwar Kumar or he could be brought in for anybody. But we need to look at a left arm pacer as well. Arshdeep Singh is my go-to man. But I'll still go with this bowling attack. I thought they didn't do anything wrong. It was just uh, a captaincy calls which went really bad. Especially you need to know how to manage your ballers, and it really felt like it was young bunch of boys who was playing out there. Rishabh Pant, it was captaining his first match in international cricket, so we will give him that leeway. But then it has been one of those things which we have been, you know, criticizing for a very long period of time. Even yesterday, we did speak about how he should be improving in his tactical game sense, especially for Delhi Capitals. You saw quite a few times him not giving that extra bit of over to Kuldeep Yadav, him going into someone like a Lalit Yadav as well. Even today, Yuzvendra Chahal could have been balled his full quota, 4 overs. You never know. He could have gone for 45 runs, but those 2 wickets would have turned the game around completely, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, there was no reason to like not give Chahal another over in the middle overs, because I think in the second over he went for only 6 or 7 runs. And in the middle, at one point, it was seeming that India are going to definitely win it comfortably, because they had sort of choked around the South African batsmen. They were finding it very difficult to get going. And suddenly that one over where David Miller took on Akshar Patel for two boundaries. Sorry, Harshal Patel for two boundaries in that 12th over. The last two balls traveled for two boundaries. I think that is where South Africa really gained momentum. And I think definitely if Yuzvendra Chahal would have come in the middle overs and picked up not even two, just the one wicket. I think Tristan Stubbs coming in for his first game in such a critical high pressure situation with a required run rate of over 13 runs per over for 7 or 8 overs. I think it would have been very difficult for him to get going. And we have also seen it for Mumbai Indians. Stubbs was brought in such situations, and they really had to depend on Tim David to finish it, because Stubbs
Yeah,
was not getting the runs going right from start. So the batting order of South Africa was very thin. They did not have the enough depth in that batting order. Yeah, definitely it was unfortunate because Markram got COVID positive. And but still, I would have preferred somebody like a Riza Hendricks ahead of one of those bowlers, either Parnell or Dwayne Pretorius, because you
absolutely.
have to because you'll definitely get that opener slot covered. And speaking about Bavuma, I think Bavuma will be under a lot of pressure to perform as a batsman. I think
Yeah,
as a captain, he has been good enough, and as a team, they have been very lucky to get so many wins under Bavuma. But his personal performance wise, I think Bavuma really gets to get going. He
definitely.
has been sort of not been on form for a long time now. And if you ask me, you will not remember Bavuma getting a very substantial knock in any of the games, apart from that one game where even Vanderderson scored that century. Bavuma also got a century,
Yeah, he
but
was on his
again,
leave. Yeah,
everybody was arguing about his strike rate back then as well.
yeah,
So I think if he comes at the top, I think you definitely need to make that one change. Riza Hendricks needs to come in at the top, and Bavuma needs to come in at number three, because Vanderderson and Miller, they are set for number 4 and 5, but you need that
yeah.
depth in that batting order.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, now from here on, the action shifts to Cuttack in Orissa, where, India will be playing in South Africa for the second T20 on Sunday. But it's a bigger ground. It's a different ground altogether. Conditions are going to be different. But, this game was so important for India to start and get that momentum going, isn't it? Because it was so important for India to get that momentum going because of the very reason that India are a young squad. You don't want them to be the back foot straight up. And that's exactly what we worried about. And that's exactly what happened as well. Even in yesterday's discussion, we did speak about how India would want to get off on a winning note and from there on get and climb on that momentum. Now, if you look, India will be feeling the pressure all of a sudden, isn't it? Because young captain of Rishabh Pant, he'll be now wondering what will be the calls which I will really need to make. What is the bowling changes I should be really doing? I feel that this 11 is very good on paper and with the terms of talent and the skill they have got, they're very good. But as a captain, I really think someone like a Shreyas Iyer should be guiding Rishabh Pant, and it should be a collective work rather than putting all the spotlight on Rishabh Pant this very point.
I think he was getting a lot of help from Hardik Pandya, and rightly so. And I
Yeah,
also think there are senior players like Dinesh Karthik in the team who will
yeah,
obviously have a lot of inputs to offer the captain, which is Rishabh Pant. And I don't think the pressure will be because they lost the first game. The pressure will be in the manner that they lost the first game, because at the
yeah,
halfway stage you would have definitely felt, if not 150 was a par, I think 180, 190 was a par. Definitely there were 10, 15, 20 runs above par on this track. And
yeah,
with bowlers like Harshal Patel, if you have bowlers like Harshal Patel, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Avish Khan, Yuzvendra Chahal, and Akshar Patel, you should defend that total against a batting lineup which did not look very deep. So definitely many boxes to check for Rishabh Pant, because this was not the way he would have liked to start his international career as captain. But definitely, this is going to, the way they lost is going to be a concern. Not that they lost, because
Yeah.
these teams are very aggressive. We know that they'll come out in the next game very aggressive as well. They'll go for, even though the boundaries are bigger, but it's not really big for somebody like a Rishabh Pant, Hardik Pandya when they're on song. And definitely in
Mm.
one of the comments I saw that they were pointing that Hardik Pandya denying that single. Yeah, another gray area over there, because two balls left. He was the batsman who was set, so I
Yeah.
thought it was okay for him, because he was timing the ball really well. 29-30 runs of just 11 balls at that stage
I mean, I
allowed him.
wouldn't really pick out that particular moment to be the reason why India lost.
Yeah,
India
definitely
lost
not the
because of the
reason.
poor bowling. That's it.
Yeah, they lost because of the poor bowling and questionable captaincy.
Yeah. Questionable captaincy big time. And whenever youngsters have captained India in the recent past, whether it be KL Rahul or Rishabh Pant, there have been certain questions which have been raised against them because of the tactical calls what they make, or either because of the intensity what they bring onto the field as well. Because when you have someone like a Rohit Sharma or a Virat Kohli, whenever they used to captain, you knew that the intensity boxes were always checked, and not just that, even the tactical calls in terms of the way in which they used to manage the bowlers, rotate the bowlers were just on point. Because in T20 cricket, rotating the bowlers is such an important facet of the game, and that's why captain, having a good captain is as good as having extra two players. Because you've seen it with Owen Morgan, you've seen it with MS Dhoni as well. They might not be contributing in your team with the most, in the best of ability with the bat, or maybe in any other skill set as well, but in just terms of the captaincy they add so much value to the team. And that's when T20 cricket captaincy becomes even more important than any other format, I feel. Because you do not have a lot of time to think, you have to make really quick decisions, and which could have repercussions, or at the same time this which could also glorify you in a big manner as well. And that's why you credit captains like Owen Morgan, you credit captains like MS Dhoni, you credit captains like Rohit Sharma in T20 cricket, because of that quick and swift decision making, which always comes to be on top, and which always comes to be very good as well. Maybe today, someone like Rishabh Pant has got a long way to learn, but then a repeated occurrence of these tactical blunders cannot take place, because it's high time for him to learn as well. Because cricket is a funny game. The more bad decisions you make, you'll be even below in the pecking order to even captain India in near future. Because selectors will definitely consider someone like a KL Rahul once he's fit, or Hardik Pandya, who just had a great IPL success, to be even the successor of Rohit Sharma. But uh, for me, I always felt a little skeptical about Rishabh Pant being the captain at this very point, because this season was when he was absolutely tested as a captain. Because last season with Delhi Capitals, he had a very good squad with him. He had the likes of Avesh Khan, he had the likes of Ravichandran Ashwin, he had almost a well-rounded setup with the likes of Shikhar Dhawan, Marcus Stoinis. So he all what he had to do was manage the team. This year was when he was actually tested. There were really some positives in terms of him giving confidence to ballers. Yesterday we did discuss about it. Even today, I love the way how he came and showed intent. Boosted bolstered the confidence of the players like Ishan Kishan and the way they played as well. But especially when it comes to on-field decisions, he really has to make a lot of calls. He really has to make those calls which are on point as well. But now let's speak about South African team, right? We did cover enough of India. I think we should speak and give credit to a South African team as well. Let's speak about David Miller. We did speak about him briefly here and there, and also let's speak about Rasim Van. David Miller, the player. Do you see him to be the X factor player for South Africa even in the World Cup?
He has been the X Factor player for South Africa in a lot of World Cups, and definitely with the current form that he is in, if he can maintain this sort of a purple patch right till the World Cup, I think he is definitely an X Factor player for South Africa. He's an X Factor player for whichever team he plays for, and I think Rassie van der Dussen is a perfect anchor player. He knows when to change gears. He has those gears. He'll start off slowly, but then again he knows his responsibilities, and when you need him to get going, he gets going. And again, we have spoken a lot about Rishabh Pant's captaincy. I should definitely say that a lot of credit should go to Bavuma for his captaincy. Not because of his batting. I think he has been a letdown with the bat. He has been
Yeah,
letting South Africa down with the bat for a long time. But for his captaincy, he should get all the credit, because the way he rotated his bowlers, once he realized that okay, Samshi and Keshav Maharaj were going for plenty, he
yeah,
opted to give somebody like a Wayne Parnell. Wayne Parnell playing a game after so many years, playing an international game after so many years. giving him the confidence to come in and bowl that 14th in the later half of the game, later
Yeah,
stage of the game, to an inform Indian batting lineup, and he did a good job. And definitely he rotated the bowlers really well. Even though you have bowlers like Kagiso Rabada and Rick Norkie, you don't really have to worry
yeah,
much. But he rotated them really well. And Parnell today showed a lot of promise with the ball. I think he was
yeah.
very good. And I think he'll definitely get another game because of today's bowling.
I mean, Parnell also has got an extra facet to his game as well. He can also strike the ball quite a long way.
Yeah,
You've seen if you've watched him in the South African domestic league and previously in international cricket, also he has shown the glimpse of what he can do with the bat. But as a captain, as I just mentioned, when you have that extra bit of cushion, when you have a really good captain in your side, it just adds value to your T20 lineup. And having a captain in T20 lineup is just invaluable. You cannot just measure it because it just adds that extra bit of value where it just puts you on, maybe on the paper you might look on par with the team, but if you have a better captain, it definitely puts you ahead by at least 10 points. And that's exactly what happened with South Africa as well, because South African captain Demba Bavuma has been having a very good time against India. It's his fourth straight win against India in terms of limited overs cricket, because 3-0 he defeated India back in South Africa, now this T20 as well. As we mentioned yesterday, since 2011 South Africa has never lost a white ball series in India, and they would want to maintain that record, and they are very proud of that record as well, because they are the only team who has really given India the run for the money in all the formats. Especially, let's just bar Test cricket, because in Test cricket India has been way too dominant at home, but especially in white ball cricket, let it be when David AB de Villiers and Faf du Plessis used to come, or Ashim Amla, or in the recent past when Quinton de Kock, Reza Hendricks, these lads have also troubled India a long way. So you reckon
yeah.
India, South Africa can maintain this now?
I don't think they're going to make change in the immediate next game, because I think the ploy of having five bowlers and a bowling all rounder worked for them. Pretorius contributed with the bat and ball, and even when Parnell was good with the ball. I think they can consider the only change that they might consider, if Katak, the pitch is not for a spinning track, they might consider dropping one of the two spinners. And namely, I think they are not going to drop some Shamsi. The only player that can be dropped right now, I think, is Keshav Maharaj. Even though he was spinning the ball a long way, like he that stumping opportunity that Quinton de Kock missed of Shreyas Iyer, the ball spun a long way.
Yeah.
So I think he was spinning the ball a long way, something which you don't expect Maharaj to do. But yeah, the only change that I see is Keshav Maharaj getting dropped and Riza Hendricks coming back, but not for the immediate future. I don't think they are going to change anything for the next one.
Very good question by Abhishek. Actually, as to we had four IPL captains in Bhuvi, Iyer, Pandya, and Pant. Definitely, of course, as we just discussed on Hardik Pandya, the captain, he is definitely a captain who's not higher than Rishabh Pant in terms of his tactical calls, and also when it comes to him handling the other players. Today, Rishabh Pant was a disappointment. Even through the course of IPL, he was a disappointment with his tactical calls. But I believe he will learn. He's got a long way to learn, and he should learn very quickly, because, as I mentioned, this cricket can be a very funny game, because if you don't learn in time, and it could make you look like a very bad player. But then his batting will come in question. A lot of us other skill set also will come in question. Even today, I thought with his DRS calls, he was very poor. As a captain, I expected him, as a wicket keeping captain, I expected him to be more, prowess with his DRS calls, because as a wicket keeper, and if you're a captain, you've seen with MS Dhoni, how good he is when making those DRS calls. Today, India wasted all three of the DRS calls, and actually India retained one of them because of their umpire's call. But other than that, other two DRS calls were really bad as well. So in T20 cricket, when you're getting three DRSs, I expect you to use it better as well. But Rishabh Pant was a bit of a disappointment in doing that as well. But now, what do you see? What should Rishabh Pant be doing from here on? Because definitely he has to improve in terms of his batting as well. He did really good today, especially with his impactful knock which he played. 29 odd in that particular situation was exactly what the doctor ordered. But now from here on, as a captain, what could he do better? Is it just him going and seeking for help from someone like a Hardik Pandya, or the other three captains in the team who has really led their IPL franchise to some really good success? Or is it him taking more time, more help from someone like a Rohit Sharma, who's a senior pro, who's actually the leader of this group, or from Rahul Dravid?
I think he really needs to learn on his own, because I think he'll get the necessary help that he needs from the team management. Somebody like a Rahul Dravid will help him. There is Dinesh Karthik, Hardik Pandya, who will help him along the way. But the main, I think, in the main, it's his gut feeling. He's going for bowlers. He's going for bowlers out of the box. Like he's trying to employ this out of the box thinking, where he is bringing in Yuzvendra Chahal to bowl in the power play, getting his sixth bowling option to bowl 1 over in the power play. I think that these are some of the calls, some of the questionable calls in today's game, and it's
Yeah.
been going on since the IPL. So I think he has to learn on his own, not to tinker too much with what resources you have. And I think definitely Bhuvneshwar Kumar started off really well. He went for only 7 runs in his first 2 overs, and at the end of the day, considered another 36 of the last two.
Yeah.
So you have to know when to use your bowlers. You have the resources. It's just it will take some time. It's just his first game. We should not be too critical about him on his first game. It's a 5 match series, so I think at the end of the fifth game we'll have different things to say about Rishabh Pant,
I
because
hope we do have different
yeah,
things to say
hopefully,
because, when these out of the box thinkings really come off, you really do appreciate these captains as well. That's one of the reasons why you appreciate Dhoni very highly, because of the very fact that his out of the box thinking more often than not comes off pretty well. And sometimes in T20 cricket, you just have to stick to the basics. You just don't have to do a lot more as well, because once you try to do a lot more things, then it becomes a complete chaos. And today, that's what exactly I thought what happened, because Chehal in the power play definitely does not have a good record. Hardik Pandya at that very point of game, at that very point in the game, was not definitely needed. And not bringing in Avesh Khan for the death overs and finishing off early was definitely not a good call. Bhuvan Kumar, when in song, did not getting that extra over was definitely not a good call. So these are some of the reasons, if you look in high inside, costed India the game. But from here on, you have 4 matches to go. T20 cricket is a very funny game. One bad match for South Africa, momentum could shift completely to India's side, and India could put in a couple of victories here and there. Then you will feel like, oh, Indian team is doing pretty well, and Rishabh Pant's
yeah,
captaincy is very good as well. So it's going to be a very interesting series from that point of view. Having said that, thank you, Sandipani, for joining. It was a great time discussing with you on this match. And of course, we'll be talking about more of these matches, because yesterday we had Pakistan also winning over West Indies quite comfortably. Babar Azam notching up his third consecutive 100 in ODI cricket. He's in some sublime form. He's in some great form. I don't know.
yeah.
Is there any adjective which I could put to him, because he's been scoring runs for absolute fun, and every time he goes on to bat now in ODI cricket, you feel like there's 100 coming. You had the same vibe with Virat Kohli once upon a time,
Yeah.
and now you have that same vibe with Babar Azam, the batter, as
And
well.
I think he beat Kohli's record to the fastest 1,000 runs as skipper. He just
Yes,
took him 13 innings to get 1,000 runs as a Pakistani skipper. And you have 300, like he scored his third consecutive 100 in ODIs for the second time. So
yeah,
he's in the purplest of patch. I don't know what superlatives to use to
yeah,
describe his
absolutely.
performance.
I mean, he's been
But again,
perfect for a very long period of time.
yeah, but again, West Indies bowling was not up to the
Yeah,
mark.
of course,
Yeah,
you can talk about Babar Azam, the player, how
yeah,
he's not been able to contribute in some of the clutch moments as well. So you of course bring some negative things about some best players every now and then, but then Babar Azam has been doing so well. He can only score against the team he's presented towards, and maybe he's getting some really good series against some lower ranked team at home. So
but
he's
to
just
be
making the
fair to
most out of
Babar
it.
Azam, I think Virat Kohli scored only 17 or 18 runs in 3 matches against the same West Indies
Yeah,
team.
same West Indies team.
So yeah,
But yeah, the conditions are different, tracks are different. In Pakistan nowadays, you're getting a lot more flatter decks, but then Babar Azam
very
has been in
flat decks
sublime
in
form.
Pakistan. Yeah,
I mean, let's speak about the Australian series as well. Even Test matches, he was in good form. Even when he traveled overseas in England, he was in really good form as
yeah,
well. So, gotta give it to him. Even against India in the T20 World Cup, he completely decimated the Indian bowling attack with his batting skills. So, yeah,
yeah,
Babar Azam has been in some really good form. Alongside him has been Mohammad Rizwan as well. And Khushal Shah, who came into prominence with his all round skills as well. But having said that, we'll be covering all these cricket matches in the coming days. So do subscribe to our channel, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of the action what we provide. And do follow us on Instagram, because that's where we provide some of the fantasy predictions, some latest sporting memes. If you're a meme lover, you gotta follow us there. And all the latest sporting updates across the world, that's where we provide on Instagram. Also follow us on Twitter, because we'll be going preview, doing Twitter spaces before every game with Sandipani and Jones and myself as well. I'll be also be there. So follow us, subscribe to us, and also play our fantasy contest with Boomer 11, because it's absolutely free of cost to play the fantasy contest, and you can win big with Boomer 11. So what are you waiting for? Just get onto it and have a good time. Thank you, Sandy Money. Have a good night. Yeah.
yeah. Good night, guys.